raises the bar for our last commentator, Professor David Shyovitz. He's our second respondent and third speaker in this session. David Shyovitz is an assistant professor of history at Northwestern University with a joint appointment at the Crown Center for Jewish and Israel Studies. His research focuses on medieval Jewish culture and intellectual history, with a particular emphasis on Jewish-Christian relations. His first book, A Remembrance of His Wonders, Nature, and the Supernatural in Medieval Ashkenaz, will be published in May with the University of Pennsylvania Press. And to all of us who are fans of Yehuda Hasid, the term resonates very strongly. It's Sefer Hasidim. So I ask David Shyovitz.
Let me join in thanking the organizers and everybody who's contributed to making such a great conference so far. And I also want to say what a particular honor it is to respond to Professor Marcus's case. In the epilogue to Sefer Kohelet, the reader is warned that asot starim harbe en ketz, of making many books, there is no end. Were he to survey the contemporary scholarly landscape, Kohelet would doubtlessly have been surprised to discover that the number of books on the medieval Jewish bookshelf seems to be gradually diminishing. For although scholars have continued to steadily edit and publish editions of texts or manuscripts, they've demonstrated increasing critical sophistication as to what works can properly be called books in a preprint age. To take just two of many examples, again I'm going to reproduce a few things that have been said already. The work of Peter Schaefer and the students on the Rabbinic and Hechalot corpora has shown that classic works like Ma'aseh Merkava and Hechalot Zotarti were built from discrete microforms, whose assemblage and reassemblage into larger redactional units or macroforms was the work of later compilers rather than original authors. Scholars of medieval Kabbalah argued in like manner that the Zohar and related works were never composed as unitary books. For textual scholars like Gonita Rose, for example, the Zohar developed in a sedimentary fashion, as strata were combined and recombined over the course of centuries. In the even sharper formulation of Abrams, it was only with the rise of printing, when discrete capitalistic manuscripts were assembled into a single printed work, that Sefer HaZohar was for the first time conceptualized as such. These and other examples reflect the broader influence of pre-modern Jewish studies of the so-called new philology, or material philology, proponents of which argued that variance and instability were not incidental to, but rather were fundamental features of medieval texts. In this view, seeking out elusive ur-texts and charting Lachmanian systematic trees ought to be complemented, and in some cases even replaced by, a sociology of texts, focused on transmission and dissemination, one that treats each individual manuscript artifact as a discrete text or work in its own right, whose individual historical context needs to be explored. For scholars of the Jewish and non-Jewish Middle Ages alike, then, we might invert Kohelet's dictum. Today it would seem of unmaking many books, there's no end. Now, as Professor Marcus has convincingly shown us, to this list of unmade books, we may now add Sefer Hasidim. His keynote makes a number of important and interrelated arguments, and in what follows, I'd like to just reflect on a few of the implications of his findings, and to raise a number of broad questions that might contribute to our work here over the next few days. Specifically, I'll briefly interrogate the intersection, but also the potential interstices between Sefer Hasidim and the other two elements of the triad that lie at the heart of Professor Marcus's paper. On the one hand, Rabbi Yehuda Hasid, Sefer Hasidim's purported author, and on the other hand, the Hasidei Ashkenaz, the small circle whose idiosyncratic worldview and social program Sefer Hasidim purportedly reflects. Oh, there you go. The editor's introduction to the 1538 Bologna printed edition of Sefer Hasidim opens by praising God for not having abandoned his people, but rather providing them with, quote, wise, discerning, knowledgeable men, whom he graced with the spirit and knowledge and fear of God to author books, as did the holy Rabbi Yehuda Hasid, who composed a wondrous book whose name is known throughout the land, Sefer Hasidim. Now, as Professor Marcus described to us, although Sefer Hasidim itself contains no overt indications that it was composed by Judah Pius, the attribution to him was widespread and apparently sufficiently self-evident that the publishers of the first edition credited him as the book's mechaber, or author. But here a key question presents itself. If Sefer Hasidim was not in fact a book, then does this mean that Yehuda Hasid was not in fact its author? Or more broadly, when we deal with pre-modern story, to whom, if anyone, can we ascribe authorship? The figure who inscribed the original short modular paragraphs, the editor who compiled them into collections of teachings, the scribes who would eventually cut and paste sections of one edition and merge them into another, or none of the above? If I understand Professor Marcus's reconstruction correctly, it would appear that Judah remains the author of Sefer Hasidim even after the work itself has been dethroned from book status. This is because of all the tasks that I mentioned, composition, compilation, editing of multiple editions, and so on, were undertaken by Judah himself. Professor Marcus describes how it was Judah the Pious who, quote, composed Sefer Hasidim in individual paragraph units, which in their totality comprised, quote, a reservoir of thousands of short passages. At that point, when, quote, the author composed hundreds of paragraphs, he combined them himself into more than one parallel version of an open book. Now, by assuming that multiple editions of Sefer Hasidim could all trace their origins back to a single author, Judah himself, Professor Marcus is operating Kishitato, since, as he notes, the Hasidei Ashkenaz were a tiny circle rather than a larger collective, and it therefore makes sense to limit the authorship of Sefer Hasidim to a single individual, or at most to an individual and a very small circle of immediate associates, and I'll return to that in a minute. Now, if I'm correctly understanding the reconstruction of the immediate setting during which these various editions of Sefer Hasidim were compiled, i.e. during Judah's lifetime and perhaps immediately afterwards, then it would seem that the editors of the Bologna edition were correct to attribute sole authorship of the text to Judah, even if they were wrong to assume that he composed it as a singular book. Now, an alternative approach would be to consider whether multiple books, Sifrei Hasidim, rather than Sefer Hasidim, imply multiple authors. Indeed, late 19th and early 20th century scholars, such as Moritz Tiedemann, assumed that Sefer Hasidim was a composite text composed by generations of German pietists and subsequently edited under the supervision of Judah and Elazar of Worms. As Yosef Dana suggested, Tiedemann's emphasis on collectivity was motivated in part by a desire to see Sefer Hasidim as a reflection of the broader Volksgeist of medieval Ashkenazi Jewry. Now, this perspective continues to appear in some recent studies. But because both Yosef Dana and Professor Marcus argue convincingly that there were no generations of German pietists, the collective authorship thesis has understandably fallen on hard times. As Dana has recently put it, Sefer Hasidim, quote, Sefer Hasidim is an absolutely personal creation, which represents the singular and exceptional worldview of Rabbi Yehuda Hasid, whose views stand in opposition not only to those of his predecessors and descendants, but even among his students and colleagues, almost no one accepted his views or supported the social vision put forward in the book, end quote. But perhaps the very terms of the authorship debate can be reframed so as to clear the way for an intermediary position. For as recent scholarship has demonstrated, the very notion of authorship in medieval Ashkenazi culture is a fraud one. Israel Tashma showed in a number of studies that open books, which we've heard about, original works that were issued by their authors multiple times and thus raising questions about authorized editions, that set of open books was accompanied in medieval Ashkenaz by texts that were opened up by subsequent generations of scribes and copyists. As Tashma and Yaakov Zussman, Melchi Bet Aryeh, and others have documented, scribes in medieval Ashkenaz were particularly aggressive and unapologetic about amending, adding to, and deleting from even the ostensibly closed texts that they copied. Moreover, in a recent article, Simcha Emanuel has shown that alongside the efforts of Ashkenazi scribes to modify and improve their texts, they also frequently amended the names referred to within them, changing first-person pronouns to third-person references, and so on. Emanuel cautions that as a result of this extensive and sometimes invisible stratum of emendations, scholars might have to give up on confidently identifying the authorship and provenance of many Ashkenazic texts altogether. Now, all this is to say that ascribing singular authorship of any medieval book solely to a specific figure is an increasingly fraught prospect. And in fact, signs of composite authorial activity might be reflected not only in the macro forms of each Sefer Hasidim manuscript, but maybe even within some of the individual microforms, the Lego blocks, of Sefer Hasidim. Let's briefly turn to a single case study that I believe illustrates the interpretive complexity of even the smallest units within this work. And we'll quickly read together a passage, you can ignore the colors for the time being, a passage from Sefer Hasidim. This is from the Parma Ascension, 1031. יש דברים מן תחמיר על האדם לא יעשה המצוות, כמו זה. מעשה בחסיד אחד, שלא היה רוצה ליגע בבשרו כשפרצתו קינה או פרוש, שלא ימצא לו קינה או פרוש והיה לו מיאוס. והיה חולץ תפילין, ואחר כך מגיע ולקח המאכולת ורוחץ ידו ומניח תפילין. So a certain pious person, there's a little missing exposition here, as is often found in Sefer Hasidim. He didn't want to touch any lice or other kinds of insects that were on his body while he was wearing his tefillin. So if he was being bothered by a louse, he would take off his tefillin, then get rid of the insect, then wash his hands and put the tefillin back on. והיה חולץ תפילין, וכשהיה הולך לפני זקנים, לא היה כופה בקומתו.
כי אמר איך אשתחווה ועוד תפילין עליו. ועוד, אמר איך אראה ואשתי, או איך אדבר עם העבוד ששמיים עליי. ואמרו האחרים, לאחר שצריכים כך פשוט, לא נוכל לספור. ולא יהיו תפילין. אמרו לו אותו חסיד, הרי ביטלת אותם מן המצוות וחומרות שלך. And here, chumrot is in the Parma, Chasidut appears in the Bologna, and easy to see how those two words could have been switched with one another by a scribe. In Cain, lo tashlicha rok bichotamcha ve'od hatfilin alecha. You're going to be so pious, and you shouldn't even be blowing your nose when you are wearing tefillin. Halo lo nitna Torah malchei hasharei ve'od al tehi tzadik hareh ve'al titchaken yoter. Another passage from the Hasidim. ועוד אם רצית להיות פרוש בהם, לא היה לך לגלות לאחרים. ואותו חסיד לא היה מנשק את בניו, אלא כשהיה שמח לדבר מצווה, וליבו שמח באהבת הקדוש ברוך הוא, היה מנשקים בפיהם כדי שמחשבתו תיכנס בליבם. Parenting strategy that I don't recommend necessarily. Now, this passage is a surprising one to say the least. Of all the rabbinic moralistic guidelines, perhaps the one least likely to resonate for the Hasidei Ashkenaz is Al Tehi Tzadik Harbeh. After all, one of the cornerstones of pietistic religious vision is an acting out of the Ritzon HaBoreh, the hidden superlegal will of the Creator, and being Arvun B'Yirah, clever or cunning, in manifesting one's fear of God through ever-increasing stringency. The Prishut, and we heard the word Prishut last night, Professor Wright was taught, the Prishut demonstrated by the Hasid in this passage would seem to be a perfect manifestation of these devotional ideals. And yet, the heading of the passage, Yesh Barim Nachmir Al Adam Lo Ya'aseh Mitzvot, right, casting the story in a negative light, seems to echo accusations and negative judgments that were brought against the Hasid by the unnamed members of the community who find the stringencies to be excessive and off-putting. But I think there's reason to question whether this paragraph was originally composed as a unified entity. After all, each and every excessive behavior attributed to the Hasid is referred to elsewhere in Sefer Hasidim in a positive and even a prescriptive light. So, for example, the idea that one has to avoid contact with mucus or other kinds of physical effluvia during times of prayer or when in contact with sacred objects is one that's found dozens of times throughout Sefer Hasidim. For example, if you clean your nose or pick your nose and you then are dirty with mucus, you have to make sure to wash your hands prior to touching any sacred object, right? And the passage continues, that same language of this disgusting thing. Reminding us of the Hasid who not only avoided mucus but also looking at his wife when he was wearing tefillin, and so on and so forth. Even the idea that one shouldn't kiss one's children is a very commonplace one within Sefer Hasidim. I've given just two of the many examples that we can find where whoever is composing these passages specifies that you should never kiss your children, especially not in synagogue or when in front of other symbols of sanctity. And here we just have to, I think, add Nevach and poor Moshe Zaltman, who was raised with this kind of... Okay. How can we make sense of this tension? Well, if we read the passage beginning with Maaseh, that is to say, after the bowl, it becomes a typical and familiar manifestation of pietistic religious and social teachings. The Hasid is wrongly attacked by his non-pietistic peers, whose lax religious standards are reflected in the behavior of the townspeople, who are easily dissuaded from wearing tefillin when they witness the exemplary piety of the Hasid in their midst. The Hasid's opponents are the ones who accuse him of excessive piety. But this is simply because of their own spiritual deficiencies. Redactionally, we could posit, it's only when the introductory sentence is appended that the overall message of the story changes. It comes to represent not admirable Prishut of the Hasid, but rather its excessiveness. While it's impossible to say for certain, it seems plausible to me that the paragraph as a whole is a reworking of the original Maaseh, the message of which has been inverted and hence subverted by a compiler or copyist who either didn't understand or didn't agree with the story's original intended meaning. Now, this brief passage is one of thousands, as we know, in Sefer Hasidim, and there are others that possibly reflect such conscious or unconscious reworking. Indeed, if we grant that Sefer Hasidim might have been a collective work, in the sense that it was edited and crafted and compiled not only by Judah but also by subsequent readers and scribes, it might also help us to make sense of what Gershom Scholem called the, quote, amorphousness of the pietistic corpus, or what Chaim Soloveitchik called, quote, the congenital inability of the Hasidei Ashkenaz to adhere to any fixed scheme or terminology. Such variance and inconsistency is much more understandable in an open text that was shaped by numerous individuals over an extended period. Now, it should be noted that assigning authorship of medieval texts is by no means a problem unique to medieval Ashkenazi Jews. In recent decades, the very existence of authorship as a category in the pre-modern era has been subjected to debate and critique. The work of Jean-Claude Schmitt, of Alistair Minnis, and a host of others has shown that authorship, authoritas, literally authority, was a construct that meant something very different in the Middle Ages than it does today. More broadly, in his influential essay, What is an Author?, Michel Foucault argued that the author of a text can never be fully reduced to the actual individual who puts pen to paper. Instead of authors, he suggests, we should think about the author function, the role an author's name plays in a discursive system. For Foucault, an author's name serves in part to buttress, quote, the principle of a certain unity of writing, and permits one to group together a certain number of texts, define them, differentiate them from, and contrast them to others. Indeed, shifting our focus from the authorial identity to Foucault's author function might help us to think differently about what so-called Judaic authorship by Judah of Sefer Hasidim might have meant. That is to say, Yehuda Hasidim might have served as the author of Sefer Hasidim even in the event that he did not compile every edition or compose every word. Treating a charismatic figure such as Judah as the author of a complex and composite corpus might have seemed unproblematic in a period during which pseudonymous writing was rampant, when such authorial functions were being played by Sadi Gaon, by Yonatan ben Uziel, Rav Hamnuna Saba, Nechunya ben Hakana, and many others. All these figures conferred authorship and authority on texts, and such vaunted authority was apparently compatible with the kind of aggressive, collective scribal activity that Tashma described. Now, by way of conclusion, let me briefly turn to the third element of Professor Marcus's triad, alongside Sefer Hasidim and Rabbi Yehuda Hasidim, namely Hasidut Ashkenaz. As I mentioned above, one of the considerations behind the single authorship theory of Sefer Hasidim is the simple fact that we now recognize that the mass movement of socially and institutionally distinguished Ashkenazi pietists was a literary conceit on the part of the author of Sefer Hasidim rather than a historical reality. In an influential article, Yosef Dan posited that there were probably, quote, fewer than a score, 20 German pietists in Judah's circle. Professor Marcus, in the longer version of his paper that I had the privilege to read, suggests that, quote, altogether there were about half a dozen men. Judah himself, his father Samuel, his son Moshe Zaltman, the Zarua, the author Darnat Bosem, and possibly a few others. But does the infinitesimal number of Jewish students who were German pietists necessarily mean that Judah was without widespread influence? Here it's worth recalling Chaim Soloveitchik's distinction between piety, pietism, and German pietism. According to Soloveitchik, only the latter, German pietism, with its emphasis on Rizvon Aboreh, on ancestral guilt, on the social critique, only that component was marginal and without lasting influence. But pietism and, of course, piety were widespread devotional ideals throughout Ashkenaz, and Sefer Hasidim is chock full of both. If one subtracted from Sefer Hasidim all of the idiosyncratic German pietism, which was apparently the exclusive domain of Judah and his small circle, one would still be left with quite a hefty book, full of halachic guidelines, scriptural exegesis, general moralistic teachings, and so on. So, simply because German pietism was not a widespread spiritual and social doctrine, might not necessarily imply that Sefer Hasidim was the province of only the few. Put differently, perhaps Sefer Hasidim contained some measure of German pietism, but is not fully identical to it. While parts of it would have spoken only to Ashkenazi pietists, other parts would have appealed to pious Ashkenazim more broadly. Indeed, the passage we briefly dissected above would seem to suggest that some of the earliest readers of Sefer Hasidim took German pietism, the Maaseh, and transformed it into a more pyramid form of pietism, namely transforming a story about elitism and stringency into one about the communal perils of a strictly individualistic excessive piety. Now, attentiveness to the possibility that Sefer Hasidim was not solely a work of Hasidei Ashkenaz would also require we distinguish between the influence of Judaism and its representativeness, two distinct measures that are often conflated in the scholarship of Hasidut Ashkenaz. Even if the more idiosyncratic social doctrines found in Judah's writings would not go on to influence the subsequent Ashkenazi ethos, the broader book in which they're inscribed may well have been representative of broader social trends and concerns. So in conclusion, we might consider that the relationship between Judah the pious, the Book of the Pious, and the Ashkenazi pietists might best be represented as a kind of a Venn diagram, with the work or works, the author, and the underlying social and spiritual doctrines overlapping with one another, but not fully contiguous. As the conference continues, I look forward to further exploring these issues, and I think we all owe a debt to Professor Marcus, whose careful textual and theoretical work have provided us with a valuable point of entry for exploring these interrelated dynamics. Thank you very much.